Hey guys, welcome to SB Racing Garage. Sort of welcome back. You don't really know it's a welcome back yet, but it is. So, started filming the getting the motor and the transmission installed for good today. Mostly showing how we mocked up the transmission, and we had a little technical difficulty. I told you I'm not very good at this, and technology definitely isn't my strong suit. So half the video, the beginning half, has zero sound. So we're gonna kind of be picking it up in the middle. It's okay, you didn't miss a whole lot. Basically, we dropped the engine in. The way I went about it this time is I slid the transmission underneath while there was no motor in it. Crawled under, lifted it up onto a jack so that it was positioned and ready to go with the jack. Dropped the motor in and then just dragged up the tranny against it. Today we'll kind of show you, what you are going to see is how we did the Crossmember, what kind of modifications, if any, were needed to fit the Turbo 400 into the tunnel, and kind of, you know, what not to be afraid of when it comes to installing a 720, or not a 727, a Turbo 400. The benefits that come with it, you know, things like, I'll mention it, but the aftermarket case, which stops from having to use a trans blanket, and that causes a bunch of heat, but I go over all that in it. Again, sorry, I'm learning this, but you'll kind of get the gist of what we're doing. So, without further ado, we'll jump into it, and you'll be joining us halfway through. Again, like, subscribe, comment, give me pointers if you can, you know, helpful tips. Maybe you'll learn something off this. Hope you do. I definitely did, but hey, as you can see, the motor's in. It's sitting pretty, and one step closer to getting it started up. And we got a lot more things to do. We got the interior to go through. All the suspension is getting redone. You'll see what we're going with there. Fitting, you know, wheels and tires and brakes, and how we're going to get this thing lighter. We'll be doing all that on this channel. You'll see every step of the way, and we got a big order waiting for it on the interior so we could get that spruced up. One guy made a comment that it looked like the inside of a toaster, and I don't disagree. So we will be installing factory door panels, which I have. They need to be restored a little bit, and we'll be doing that here too. So stick along, and I guess you'll jump in halfway through today's adventure. All right, guys, as you can see, we got the transmission mounted up. It actually fits in there pretty good. I was worried that, you know, you might have to cut out this crossmember brace. I've seen lots saying that you have to, but you don't. The Turbo 400 fits in here almost like it was made for it. We've got the sliding mount installed. So basically the way this works is you can slide it in and out, so you can basically line up with your mount underneath. What I'll be using is, I think I showed you this in the last video, but I have the transmission crossmember right here. It's from Holly. It's actually meant for a Gen 3 swap, but it has the GM transmission mount for the slots. So it'll go right up in there. The only issue is, because I'm using this adjustable trans mount, it doesn't clear the front. So we are gonna have to trim this down and cut this out basically so that it can lie flat. And then we'll have the transmission basically all mocked up and mounted up, but fits great. Hey, Mopar guys, don't be afraid of the Turbo 400. I don't know if you saw my video on the engine and transmission, and you know the reason I picked the Turbo 400. Biggest reason is, like, we're making almost 800 horsepower. 727 is a great transmission. There's nothing against them. I don't have any, you know, whatever. But they're hard to find parts for, and they're very expensive to build, especially when you need it to handle the kind of power that this is going to be making. Second reason is They don't make any SFI cases for it. So I do have the reed case on the Turbo 400. Reason being, I don't want to have to run a trans blanket. They cause a lot of heat. They're a pain in the butt. They're hard to, you know, when you got to do maintenance, you got to unstrap it all. It's just a lot of added work. I get it. SFI cases aren't cheap. This is not a cheap transmission by any means. But in the long run, I think, you know, doing the drag and drive stuff, maintenance is important. And that also leads me to my third point. You can find turbo for, you know, everybody's going to be running a Turbo 400. There's a bazillion parts you can find if you need, where a 727, you know, you blow something up, you might be SOL for that competition just because you can't, you know, you can't find parts or things like that. So, like I said, Mopar guys, don't be afraid of the Turbo 400. It's a great transmission. Takes a little bit of work, but fits in there great and should add a lot of reliability. All right, so we have the Crossmember mounted up. Got the Crossmember in the vise. We're gonna cut this front piece off, this front plate. Basically that'll give us access so that the transmission mount can just slide in. We'll leave the back part for strength, or the back portion, but I mean, this is like 1/8" thick steel. There's going to be no issues with it holding the weight of the transmission. So we'll get this cut out. We basically got to do 2 lines, and then there's a weld here that we'll just cut out, and hopefully this piece will come right off without having to do any kind of structural damage to the actual part where the transmission mounts. So sorry if this will be a little loud. Maybe we'll throw in some music or something so you don't have to hear the grinding. Of the hammer. Alright, so after lots of cutting, as you can see, that's what we wound up with. So this is just the clearance and make room for the transmission mount because it kind of sits forward. It has that metal plate. This way it'll just bolt right in, and hopefully we'll have our Turbo 400 mounted up for good, and we'll be on to the next thing. And there we have it. It's all mounted up, installed. I can get it off jack stands and go from there. But that was a big step. And I am happy that not one thing needed to be done to the transmission tunnel. Bolted right in, you know, once we got this Crossmember kind of fixed up and modified, it worked beautifully. And that I can't say enough about that sliding mount. That made all the difference in the world. We were able to kind of position it. It also tilts front and back so we could get our driveline angle set up and good to go. We don't have it permanently set up, you know, whether we need to shim it a tiny bit to move it up a bit, but really we can just correct that with the pinion angle and get where we need. But one step closer. There we go, boys and girls. Motor's in, and she looks good in there. So still a lot of work ahead. We got to make the brackets for the motor plate. We'll go here and here. Now, you guys let me know, would it be better to do the bracket on the front here or behind? I'm thinking for behind, so that way when the motor's coming out, it goes back in, it just slides up against. Also, you have the option of bolting them to the frame rails or welding them in permanently. I'm still kind of mixed on that, but she's looking good in there. I'm also going to have to figure out what we're going to do about the hood. She's a little higher than Defenders, as you can see. But it'll be good. Next time, I think we're going to start on the interior, get that cage cut out. We got a little bit of fixing to do on the floors, get all the wiring taken out, and you guys are going to help me decide what we're doing with this dash. But you get a nice reflection of me in the pristine glass. But yeah, so follow, like, subscribe. Remember, 10% once we get to that point is all going to charity, whether they're both Cancer Care and Wounded Warriors Project. So see you guys next time.